Ethan Carter had spent years building one of the largest technology companies in the country. Newspapers called him a genius billionaire, but very few people knew the lonely man behind the headlines. 3 years earlier, his beloved wife, Olivia, had passed away shortly after giving birth to their triplets, Emma, Noah, and Lily. Since then, Ethan buried himself in work, believing that earning more money would somehow protect the family he had left. The children lived in their enormous mansion with a team of nannies, tutors, and housekeepers. Yet none of them stayed long. Some complained that the children were too energetic. Others cared only about the generous paycheck. Ethan barely noticed the constant changes because he was almost always traveling for meetings around the world. Only one person remained. Her name was Grace. Grace had started as a simple maid. She quietly cleaned the house, prepared meals, folded tiny clothes, and smiled whenever the children ran through the halls. Over time, the triplets became attached to her. She never tried to replace their mother, but she filled the empty spaces with patience, warmth, and endless kindness. One afternoon, Ethan decided to return home 2 days earlier than planned. He wanted to surprise everyone before flying to another conference. He entered the mansion without informing anyone. The house seemed unusually quiet. As he walked upstairs, he expected to find the children watching television while the staff handled their duties. Instead, he heard soft laughter coming from the nursery. Curious, Ethan opened the door just enough to peek inside. What he saw made him freeze. Grace sat on the carpet surrounded by the triplets. She wasn't scrolling through her phone or chatting with another employee. She was pretending to be a pirate. Emma wore a paper hat. Noah held a cardboard telescope. Little Lily proudly waved a wooden spoon like a sword. Grace dramatically searched for hidden treasure beneath blankets while the children laughed so hard they could barely breathe. Ethan had never heard them laugh like that. Then the game ended. Grace gathered them into a gentle hug. "I know you miss Mommy," she whispered softly. "It's okay to miss her. She loved you more than anything." The children nodded. Emma quietly asked, "Do you think Mommy can still see us?" Grace smiled through watery eyes. "I believe love never disappears. So if she's watching, I think she'd be smiling because you're taking care of each other." Ethan felt something tighten inside his chest. He had missed years of moments like this. Before he could step away, Lily suddenly noticed him standing at the door. "Daddy!" All 3 children rushed toward him. They hugged his legs tightly. Ethan smiled awkwardly. He loved them deeply, yet he realized they hardly knew him. Grace immediately stood. "Sir, I didn't know you'd returned." Her voice carried genuine respect, not fear. Ethan simply nodded. That evening, instead of returning to his office, he stayed for dinner. The children kept talking about their adventures with Grace. "She taught us cookies. She reads dragon stories. She fixes monsters under the bed." Grace laughed. "I only check the closet." For the first time in years, Ethan shared a real family meal. Over the following days, he quietly paid attention. Every morning Grace woke before sunrise to prepare healthy breakfasts shaped like animals because it made the children excited to eat. She remembered Noah disliked loud noises. She braided Emma's hair exactly the way Olivia once had. She carried sleepy Lily whenever thunderstorms frightened her. She even repaired broken toys instead of replacing them because she believed memories mattered more than expensive gifts. One afternoon Ethan reviewed household expenses. Something caught his attention. Grace's salary was modest. Yet several receipts showed purchases of children's books, art supplies, warm pajamas, and birthday decorations. None had been reimbursed. He called the accountant. "Who approved these expenses?" "No one, sir. They were bought by Grace herself." Ethan stared silently at the papers. She had spent her own money on children who weren't even hers. That evening he asked Grace to meet him in the library. She looked nervous. "If I've done something wrong." "You've done something I don't understand." He placed the receipts on the table. "Why?" Grace looked embarrassed. "The children wanted books about stars because Noah dreams of becoming an astronaut." She smiled gently. "Emma loves painting, and Lily was afraid of sleeping alone. I didn't think asking the company to pay for small things was necessary. You used your own savings. They're worth far more than money." Ethan couldn't remember the last time someone had spoken so honestly. "Why do you care this much?" Grace looked toward a family photograph. "When I was little, I grew up in an orphanage. My happiest memories weren't expensive gifts. They were people who made me feel loved. I promised myself that if I ever had the chance, I'd give another child that feeling." Silence filled the room. Ethan realized he had spent millions providing luxury while Grace had given the children something priceless. Presence. Love. Security. The next morning Ethan canceled an international business trip. His executives were stunned. For the first time, family came before work. He began eating breakfast with the triplets every day. He attended school performances. He read bedtime stories, even though he often stumbled over funny character voices. The children adored every moment. Weeks later, Ethan organized a small garden party. The staff gathered, expecting another company announcement. Instead, Ethan stood beside Grace. "I've built successful businesses because I know how to recognize value." He smiled warmly. "But I nearly overlooked the greatest treasure in my own home." He turned toward Grace. "You were hired as a maid. But you've been the heart of this family." Tears filled Grace's eyes. Ethan handed her a folder. Inside was a new contract. It offered a significant salary increase, paid education if she wished to continue studying, healthcare for her aging parents, and the permanent position of children's family care director. Grace covered her mouth in disbelief. "I don't know what to say." "Just stay," Ethan replied. The triplets ran forward and hugged her tightly. Emma looked up at Ethan. "Does this mean Grace isn't leaving?" He smiled. "No. As long as she wants to stay, she'll always be part of this family." Years passed. The mansion remained beautiful, but its greatest wealth was no longer measured by its marble floors or priceless artwork. It was measured by bedtime stories, birthday cakes baked together, scraped knees kissed better, family dinners, and laughter echoing through every hallway. Ethan eventually understood a lesson no business school could ever teach. Money could build the biggest house in the city. But only kindness, love, and genuine compassion could turn that house into a home. And the greatest investment he ever made wasn't in stocks, companies, or real estate. It was believing in the quiet maid whose loving heart had already changed the lives of 3 little children, and, without realizing it, had rescued their father as well.